Hello out there. Hope you are all well. It's Well-Being Wednesday, and we've got our 15-minute session together. So, as always, if you are tuning in live, then type me a little note to let me know you're here live. If you are watching the replay, then just hit replay, let me know. It's always nice to know who's out there and who's out there live and who is out there catching the replay. And obviously, we all have busy schedules. And so tuning in right now at 12 a.m., 12 noon, which is p.m., can sometimes be difficult because you might have other things to get that are going on. And I apologize for being 2 minutes late because I had an 11 o'clock call that extended past the 11:30 end, and literally we got off at 12, both of us having to get onto another call. So whoever's out there, if you're tuning in live, type me a little note, let me know who it is. And if you're watching the replay, then type replay. Amy's there. Hello. Hello, gorgeous. Okay, so it is Body Week, and I thought it would be really good to talk about sleep because March 18th, which I think is next Friday, is World Sleep Day. And sleep is one of the most important things that we can do to support our body, both physical body, our mental body, our immune system. It's something that I did not know was so important until I was going through my near burnout. I was definitely one of those people that just assumed I could sleep when I was dead. I thought that it was totally fine that I only needed 5 hours of sleep. And I wore 5 hours of sleep like a badge of honor. I thought it was just like the coolest thing. I was like, I only need 5 hours of sleep. Sleeping's overrated. I was a competitive swimmer, as some of you know, when I was growing up. And so I would wake up. I've always been a morning person. I had to wake up early to get to my morning practices, which started at 5:30. And so I sort of was used to waking up early. And then when I was traveling for my corporate career, I used to do day flights, and I'd be on that 7 a.m. flight. And so I was up at 4:45, 5 o'clock, so I could get to the airport in time. And then you'd have late nights because you'd have business dinners or anyway. That all takes a toll on your body. Takes a toll on your physical body and can lead to immune issues. I ended up, as some of you know, I had a chronic immune issue that just went on and on. And it was the thing that really pushed me to start thinking about my own well-being and how I was looking after myself. And this is when I started to educate myself on sleep, because never before had I really thought that I needed to sleep that much, but I found myself exhausted all the time. So I read a book called Why Sleep Matters. I think it's called Why Sleep Matters. Anyway, it's by Matthew Walker, who is one of the leading experts on sleep. And the fact is that we all need, on average, 8 hours of sleep. He talks about it as sleep opportunity. So you might not get sleep, but you're giving yourself the chance to get 8 hours of sleep every night. And just because you might think that you're catching up on your sleep over the weekend because maybe you sleep 5 hours or 6 hours during the week, but then you give yourself 12 or 14 hours during the weekend. By the way, I've never been able to do that. Anyone that can sleep 12 to 14 hours, right on, good for you. I can't, but that actually, it doesn't balance out. So what we're looking for is consistent sleep and a consistent sleep pattern. Now, there is a difference between our hours of sleep. I am a morning person. I always have been. I don't mind getting up early. I don't mind, being up before the sun rises. That actually suits me. In my system, I am a morning person. My sister has never been a morning person. I used to sort of think it was laughable that she couldn't get up, she struggled to get up before 8 o'clock. now I understand, like, you're either a morning person or you're a night owl, but you still need to give yourself 8 hours. And so if you're going to bed later at, like my sister was at, 12 or after 12, her getting up at 9, but actually she had her, say she was going to bed at 1 in the morning, her getting up at 9, that actually was normal because she had her 8 hours. Me going to bed at 10 and getting up at 6, I have my 8 hours. So that's normal. So one of the things I really want you to consider is, are you giving yourself a consistent amount of time to go to sleep? So are you going to bed are you starting to get prepped for bed I start to get prepped for bed around 9:30, and ideally my lights are out by 10. And then I get up around 5:30, 5:45. Today I got up at 6 because I traveled yesterday and I just felt like a few extra minutes in bed. But whether you're a morning person or a night person, can you set yourself out to have a consistent sleep pattern? So that means, can you roughly go to bed around the same time, and can you roughly wake up around the same time? And when you look at those times, is it around 8 hours? And so that's number one. Number one thing to do is look at the amount of time and make sure there's some consistency day in, day out. Now, if you're only giving yourself 6 hours of sleep every night right now, you're not going to jump to 8, and don't force yourself. Just maybe inch it a little bit, inch it up 15 minutes, 15 minutes more, 15 minutes more, and then you build over time. It's like with all my suggestions, to go for, perfection, which there never is any perfection, first thing is impossible. So I always encourage you to take steps. And over time you build up and you build up and you build up. And it's the same with a sleep pattern. If you have no consistency, then let's just look at first, creating consistency around a certain amount of time. And then aiming to get to 8 hours ultimately. So that is the number one tip. Then there's a few other things you can do in order to prep yourself for a good night's sleep. And it's like creating sleep hygiene. I am definitely a morning person, and I know, Amy, you're joining my masterclass on Friday on developing a morning routine. There's also really good support in developing a nighttime routine, having a good night hygiene, sleep hygiene. But that nighttime routine will look different to each of us. So think about what you can do to start to calm your nervous system, to start to wind things down. The number one thing we all should be considering is, when do we turn our screens off? Yes, and that means TV, it means computer, it means your little devices that you can hold in your hands. I am not a whiz at this, because in starting my own business, I realized that actually now sometimes the only time I have to work is after we've put our boys to bed. And so then switching off is pretty hard, because I feel drawn to want to do a little bit more work. And that's not great to have that blue light. So I have to actively remind myself I need to switch off at a certain time from my devices, so that I then don't have the impact of the blue light right before I go to bed. So think about when you're switching off from your screens. Ideally, it's an hour before you go to sleep. Yep, an hour. I'm not there yet. So if you're having problems with this, I am there having the problem too. But I do know I should be switching off an hour before going to bed. And if you have children, Amy, I know you have a little one. Not sure if they have screens yet. I don't think they do, because they're too young. But children and screens right before bed, and really not great, because it does interrupt our sleep. So think about when you're turning off your screen, and if you can, try to put your phone to sleep, and put your phone to sleep outside your bedroom. Again, I am not there yet, because I do use it as my alarm if I need to use an alarm. But I do put it on airplane mode, and I don't have it next to my head, so that if you don't feel comfortable putting it outside your room, put it on airplane mode and put it on the opposite side of the room, or like me, you can put it on the ground next to my bed. So I just have it on my bed, turned upside down, on airplane mode, And so it's not just right next to me all night. Okay, then your routine before bed. So, what are you doing to really start to wind down? Can you take a few moments to have your eyes shut, listen to some nice music? Do you meditate? Do you do some calming yoga? This is not the time to do power yoga. This would be the time to do more yin-like poses. If you're exhausted from the day, just having your legs, being on your back and having your legs up a wall is really nice and draining for the lymphatic system, and also quite restful for your overall nervous system. A routine around washing your face, taking a bath could be something that you do. So just thinking about those things that actually really support you in your wind down and creating a ritual around them. The room temperature of your bedroom is also really important. So Matthew Walker says it should be between 17 to 19 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit anymore, but 17 to 19 degrees Fahrenheit, which is colder than one would expect. I am one to have fresh air. I really like having a window open, so that automatically cools down the room as well. But try to look at where your temperature is in your house and cool it down at night, cooler than you'd expect, in fact. And the other thing is, when are you eating? When are you eating your dinner, your final meal of the day? Lots of us have big dinners or dinner might be our main meal because we are it's the time that we gather as a family. We always have a sit-down dinner. I grew up having a sit-down dinner, and it was probably 7:30. When I was getting home from work after my corporate job, when I was in my corporate job, we'd have a much later dinner. It was probably 7:30 or 8. We'd like to have our boys sit down with us. Even though they're young, they'd have their another little snack or something. But we've realized that actually that's too late because you're not giving your body a chance to digest. So we've started eating much earlier. We eat with the boys around 6:30 in an ideal world, so that we're finished by 7, and then we're giving our gut a chance to digest before going to sleep. And you'll find, even just testing it out a few days, and don't just test it out once, test it out a few days to see if you have some impact. But it does really, you'll start to notice. I started to notice pretty quickly how much lighter I felt when I went to bed because we were eating dinner earlier. And then really think about, when is the last time you have caffeine? Again, I do love caffeine. I'm not against caffeine at all. I love a cup of coffee, and I love 2 cups of coffee normally, but I don't have any caffeine post 12 noon anymore. But I didn't switch right away. So there was a time when I was having caffeine probably at 4 in the afternoon. Then I switched it to, I'm not going to have it past 2 p.m. And now I've switched it to noon, and I have a max of two coffees a day. So there you go. Those are some tips. Think about sleep. Think about your sleep hygiene. Think about when you turn your devices off, the time you eat your dinner, when's the last time you have caffeine, and your room temperature, and then creating a really nice nighttime ritual so that you can go to bed feeling calm and relaxed. And if you happen to wake up in the middle of the night, usually we get frustrated that we're not going to go back to sleep. And if that does happen, that is when you employ some some deep breath work to calm your mind and to ease the stress. And if you really can't fall back to sleep right away, the recommendation is to get up, read a little bit, because the worst thing is to stress yourself that you're not going to fall asleep. So if you do get up and not up necessarily, maybe you just sit up in bed, maybe you read a few pages, that's better to do than getting frustrated and really not being able to fall back to sleep. So do read a few pages, listen to some music, listen to some calming music, and then try to go back to sleep if you do happen to wake up in the middle of the night. Okay, there we go. World Sleep Day is next week at some point. I have a really exciting interview happening on Tuesday with Dr. Lindsay Browning, who is a sleep expert. I'm so excited to speak to her. Those were all just my tips. I'm sure she's going to come to the table with so much more. The short interview will be posted on our YouTube channel, and for all of our tribe members, you get the full length. I'm going to have so many questions for her, and I have a feeling it's going to be a very fruitful conversation. So we aim for them to be around 40 minutes, but sometimes they go a little bit longer. So for tribe members, obviously you get the full meaty interview, and it will go live at the end of next week in line with World Sleep Day. For those of you live, what was the most useful? Type it in the chat box. For anyone watching the replay, I would love to know what you found mostly useful. So again, type it in the chat box. That would be really helpful for me. And if there's anything that you want me to cover going forward, as always, I am more than happy to take recommendations. But yeah, let me know what you found the most useful from this conversation. And until next time, I hope you all have a lovely, lovely weekend, and get ready for World Sleep Day next week. Oh, and if you haven't signed up, sorry, I'll do a plug for my Morning Routines Masterclass. I'm doing a free Morning Routines Masterclass on Friday at 12 noon Greenwich Mean Time, Western European time, so that's what we call it here in Portugal, but that's 7 a.m. for anyone on the East Coast in the U.S., and it is in celebration of International Women's Day, which was yesterday, so I celebrate all of you amazing women out there, all of your achievements, and I wanted to create a little bit of a masterclass around creating morning routines, because I really do believe that setting up our day, how we set up our day, helps us, is how we actually work through the rest of the day. So if you have a good morning routine that is ritualistic, that helps you throughout the rest of the day. Okay, everyone. Amy, have a great day, and for everyone else, have a lovely day, weekend. Oh, room temperature, really interesting, turning off all stimulation for an hour before sleep. I know, it's crazy. It's really hard. I'm right there with you. Don't think I'm perfect at this at all. I am not. This is all a work in progress. Okay, have a great day, and sending everyone lots of wellness now and always. Take care.